Well, on this glorious April day, taking us a lot by surprise, I'm sure we're not the only beekeepers taken by surprise. We're going to go out to one of the out apiaries and do some of the first inspections. We've had a look in, there are definitely bees alive within the hives. We've even gone as far as putting a couple of extra supers on, the honey catching boxes. So we'll go and see what the bees are doing with that, whether they've worked their way up into that. But now, this time, we're going to do an actual inspection into the nest of the bees, see if the queen is laying well and she's going in the right direction, and make some plans from that. All we can do today is take some pieces of spur kit, spur brood box, spur supers, obviously smoker, and we'll also take a polystyrene hive which we could take a swarm from, or do some splits if they are looking like they're going to swarm. With swarming at this time of year, it's incredibly early this year. We are organised for it, fortunately. This dry, warm weather has just promoted the bees probably 3 or 4 weeks in advance of where they would normally be. So our job as beekeepers is to make them think as though they've gone through the mechanics of swarming, but we're going to leave them in the same place. And if we do that, they'll be happy for the rest of the year and then produce some honey at the end of it. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do when we're stopping our own colonies swarming. The last time these hives would have been inspected was probably in October of last year. We took the honey off end of September. The bees would have still had lots of forage to go for, things like ivy, and we would have fed them, but we'd also treated them. It's very important when you treat that you don't actually have any honey on, because it's, well, one, it's illegal, but it will taint the honey. It's really important when you do a hive inspection that you have a plan of why you're inspecting, not just because it's a Thursday or whatever it is. So yeah, we need a plan as to why we're inspecting, why we're disturbing the bees, because the honey production, if there is any, will go down on this day. And we just want to, the bees are the experts. We want to leave them to do what they do best, and that is, manage their own nest in the way that they see fit and produce honey. So our role is just to give them space so they expand but don't swarm, and then they have enough boxes to fill when they come to producing honey. Doesn't seem 5 minutes ago that we were making up these boxes in cold January, and now we're going to go out and make them work for us. This is an out apiary we have we've had it for about 3 years, so we're still finding out when things happen here. It's a very productive apiary, very productive indeed. It's a bit lower down, not far from the coast. With this warm weather, the bees will definitely be active today. Beautiful sunny day, temperatures round about, well, in here with the heating on this Land Rover, it's about 400 degrees, but I think it's about 20 degrees outside. We're still sort of learning how the seasons go here, but I'm imagining they're going to be really big colonies, come out of winter well. And we'll just see, this is the first inspection of the spring. There's no point in doing inspections much before the beginning of April anyway. You can't do anything if queens are dead, because that's just too early in the season, and it's just around the corner, so nice handy site as well to get to. We're approaching the apiary now. It's on a research farm. To the untrained eye, there's all kinds of weird and wonderful stuff goes on here, but the bees love it. Yeah, the hives are now starting to get bigger. So From a hygiene point of view as well, it's sort of best practice to wear gloves. The hives we've been in over previous episodes have been quite small. Self-contained units as well. So we'll just put these on it. Plus as well, I don't fancy getting stung today. We're here at the business end of the season. It's really great to be back working with the bees. One of the swarming impulses will be that the queen is running out of space within this hive to lay, and the other one is that the population gets much bigger. So we put these boxes on to make them feel as though there's headroom above the nest, somewhere to move into. I just thought it was worthwhile given the weather forecast, and it was worthwhile just coming back and putting those on. So we haven't actually dug into the nest yet, and we'll do that today. So that's all we've done. Entrance reducers off, queen excluders on, a couple of supers just to keep the queen below this entrance, and that's all that's happened so far. You can see by the entrance as well, there's a lot of activity, which is great. It looks like a really healthy hive that's making the most of these conditions. And the great thing is we've got some bees up here in the super. So that's the first really encouraging sign that the bees having, you know, their nest is down here, but they're moving up and they've obviously found that space. So we'll see what they're doing with this. The queen won't be this high up because we've put a queen excluder on. Again, they're really nice, gentle bees, these. So these are storing away honey, or nectar as it is now, and they'll reduce the water content down from about 40% to below 20% when it becomes honey. But they're busily doing that, filling the cells out. These are drone combs, so they've got less work to do. But that's really, really encouraging for so early in the season. All of our bees are buckfast, what is generically known as buckfast bees. We breed them ourselves in the UK. We'll show you that process as well when the time is right. Only another month or so to go. And the characteristics really of the buckfast bee is they are good honey gatherers, less likely to swarm, but also really nice and gentle. If you move your hand over a hive of other bees, they will come out and investigate certainly, and maybe even sting. So this is exactly the sort of bee we're looking for. These are the younger bees which are up in this super at the minute, and so when we dig into the nest we might see a bit more activity, but for now that's really positive that they've moved up, and I'm really glad I gave them the space, particularly with the weather forecast that we've got for the next week, which is another 7 days of sunshine. We've got these two supers, there's another one under here, and we have more of the same. More bees, more honey. It's sort of in the central part of the hive at the minute, but they will move out. That's really, really good. I'm so pleased I put those supers on. But this is a fraction of what, if we go forward a couple of months' time. They're certainly expanding, which is, we haven't even looked in the nest yet, but we know the queen is laying new bees, which is great. And they're not aggressive, they're not frantic, so the queen's pheromones that she gives off will placate everything is okay in the hive, if you like. So the amount of bees on these combs and the amount of bees that are flying into the hive is a really great indicator of what's going on within the nest. That's without us looking. And this, you can start to feel a little bit of weight in there. These will typically weigh about another 25 pounds of honey they will catch, and it's really quite stark, the difference between an empty one and a full super of honey. It's quite a thing to lift, but you can just about feel they are starting to make a dent into that. So we can just put that one on here, making sure not to squash any bees. Again, if any bees want to come out of there, they can fly straight back into the hive. So now we're moving into the business end of the hive. This is the nest. This is where we hope to find our productive laying queen. Again, when we move our hands across, there's no bees flying up at us. It's a warm day, so yeah, they would be certainly feel the difference between us having supers on and being open to the elements. So the queen excluder, this stops the queen being able to move up, so we've just got bees that can come through, deposit the honey in the supers and then go back down, and we're not worried about the queen being in there. Now we're going to look for the queen. So they've stuck this down, lots of creaking. There, it's free now. We'll give them a little bit of smoke just to move them down more than make them less aggressive, because these are a really nice hive. So bearing in mind what I said about the queen and her being able to move up, she could potentially be on this side of the queen excluder. So we just have a quick look to make sure. She should be have a paint dot on there to highlight her to us. But there's no queen on this side, we can put it to one side. We do need to know why we are looking into the hive and disturbing them. So on this inspection today, with it being the first inspection, we just want to make sure that they're building out from what would be quite a small winter hive into the spring and then summer hive. And as you can see, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, they have 8 seams of bees, which is great. That's a really healthy hive for this type of year. And we'll just keep an eye on the amount of bees that they have within the hive, because that's where they're going to run out of space. They look okay for now. The other thing we're looking for is that they don't have lots of stores left from the winter and they're not honey bound. This time of year, the queen needs lots of space to lay eggs in. She needs empty cells. And if that's taken up by honey, that's not good. So the first frame, as you can see, is pretty much totally honey. This is leftover. So that's a hive that's come through the winter, still got plenty of stores left. And looking at the next frame, another frame of stores. So these have gone through the winter really well, considering the number of bees that are in here. You like to see something like this if you were to open the hives in January and February, but in April this is now giving me cause for concern. So I'm starting to think of options. We'll just keep digging through and see what else is in the hive, but 2 frames of honey at this time of year isn't necessarily a good thing, with all the other fact they're storing honey above them as well in the supers. So we'll just keep looking through. The queen needs empty cells at this time of year. She needs space to put those eggs in to grow her population, and then that population will be the foraging ones in 3 or 4 weeks time that go off and start to fill those supers. If she doesn't have space, then that's one of the triggers for swarming. So too many stores at this time of year is a bad thing in some respects. So we'll just keep going through the hives just to make sure the extent of it, and then we'll come up with a plan to mitigate that. And here we have another one, you see. And the third frame out. Again, lots and lots of bees starting to store honey themselves around where they've used up, but still lots of stores. So this hive has too much honey in, I believe. We don't want to take it all away, but certainly they need some space, lest these will be prime candidates for swarming later. If you see, the nest is like a circle, and we've got the frames that have cut through, but it's a very definite circle that we're now moving into. Okay. So although these have used the majority of the stores, they've still got some around the outer of this frame. I'm looking into the cells, and they're storing some fresh honey actually in, and the queen isn't laying so far out just yet. Again, nice calm bees, but the way we can move bees around, do it with smoke, but if we want to see what's in the cell, we can shake the bees, but that irritates them, or just blow on them and they'll move aside, and we can just tap them. And we can see in there that the queen have started to lay, and they're putting a ring of pollen around the outside that they'll feed the young bees. When we take out a frame, we have a quick look for the queen. She's not that keen on light, so she will move around. She's not on this frame, but we can see on this one we're now hitting where she really is starting to lay eggs, and they've capped over that brood. All looks really healthy. You see there's not many misses. She's laying out every single cell, and that's the same on this side as well. So nice light brown, biscuity coloured brood. And just looking to the edges, we've got young larvae and eggs in this one as well. No sign of the queen yet though. Lots of bees in this hive. It's really encouraging. So a quick look for the queen. Seeing the queen is not essential at this time of year. It's not essential at most times of the year. We can see from the cells that she's been here at least a couple of days ago because of the eggs. And also the temperament of the hive. Her pheromones are calming everybody down. It's a happy hive, just getting about its business. So there's more of the same on this side, the capped brood. Some of it's emerged, but you can tell by the number of bees that are in this hive. These are new season bees, if you like. They never went through winter. They've probably gone through winter with about 5,000–10,000 bees, and they're probably, you know, around the 15,000 to 20,000 bees now. So these are all healthy 2025 bees. So just sometimes a little vibration moves the bees away, and then we can move on to the next. Okay, so just a quick look. We have the queen on this frame, and she is laying up a storm. Virtually every single cell on this one is laid out by the queen. We won't shake this frame because she's on here, but she looks a beauty as well. One of our 2025 queens, and from the temperament and the amount of laying she's doing, the fact they're collecting lots of honey, that's exactly what we want to see from the strain of bee we keep. Judging by the amount of brood we've got, I'm really pleased with how she's laying. I'm just going to pop her back in. I'm just taking another look. She's on the inside of this frame. She's nice and safe in there now. There's probably one frame of too much honey in this. It's not a massive problem, but we'll probably just split the nest up and remove it. See what's on these last few frames. And again, let's just get rid of these bees so we can see. You can see lots and lots and lots of new season bees. So they're doing really, really well. Now we've seen the queen, we've basically seen everything we need to see. We just want to assess these last couple of frames for honey, and then we can make a plan. So from our last video, you may remember that I mentioned about putting drone comb in each hive. That's why we haven't seen too many drones dotted about the hive. It's not that they haven't emerged yet, but the queen is certainly laying them. So she lays them on this frame. It's set up to incentivise her really to lay drones. And this will flood this local area where we are probably about 4 or 5 miles this way. It's probably a bit too far for us, but for other beekeepers, local beekeepers, it'll flood the area with bees with the same genetics as we have here. So good drone stock. And it also keeps the hive nice and tidy by, rather than building funky comb everywhere, they have one frame where they can put the males. So that's good. They don't go through the winter with drones. They're just needed for the mating season, which is coming up fast. So we pop that one back in. And the final one, we may find some food on this one. Again, lots of bees. And they've chosen to put a few eggs in here, but it's mainly pollen. on this frame. So what we're going to do is take one of the food frames from the back, and that can go in first. Then we want to put the pollen next to the hive, so that will go in next. And we're just basically moving everything one frame back that way. But we're going to replace, because we had 3 frames of very dense honey, we're going to replace that with a frame of foundation, and that'll go straight in the middle. It'll give the bees a bit of space, or the impression of space. Because of the honey flow that's on at the minute, it's got the heat, it's got the bees, they will draw that frame out and they will give the queen somewhere else to lay, reducing that pressure and hopefully reducing the swarming instinct as well. But this is where the husbandry side of beekeeping comes in, and we're trying to keep these bees in here, trying to keep them filling up with honey, and so when we get to the end of the season there's an excess and we can take that away. But if we've got 12 hives here, if they were all like this one, we'd be in great shape. So we know the queen's not on this particular frame. I'm just going to pop that to one side. And then we're going to move everything rotating round. So we've got a food frame at the front. So that comes from the back, if you remember this frame from earlier, both sides. We're going to pop that one in right at the front. A little bit of smoke just to move them off. Then the next one is I always keep the drone comb in the second position. It seems to work well. As the nest contracts at the back end of the year, the drone comb will get full. It doesn't need it to be bees in there. The queen won't lay drones much past the end of August. And so they'll convert that to just honey storage, so that can stay on the outside. And then we're just going to move everything up, making sure we're not squashing bees. And then we're going to put a foundation in, just into that slot there. That'll give them right in the centre of the brood nest a brand new place to lay for the queen. So that goes in the centre. And we're going to take out one of these other food frames, get rid of the bees, and we can donate that to a hive which has got less stores. And then the final, we use dummy boards in these hives just to give us a bit of space when we're inspecting. And that's really, we couldn't have asked for a better inspection. No planning went into this at all, but we've seen everything we want to see. We've seen the queen. Don't always have to see her. If we see eggs, saw the larvae, they look really good. Lots and lots of brood in this hive. Population numbers are going to explode over the next couple of weeks, but we've given them some room, so they're not storing honey in this bottom box, they're moving that up and away from the brood nest. And in a couple of weeks' time, 3 weeks' time maybe, they'll have used what little stores there are now in this bottom box, and they will lay out everything. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we've taken away that swarming impulse. But it's a constant process at this time of year. We have to keep revisiting, and that's why we're inspecting now swarm control, making sure they've got enough space, making sure they've got enough supers. They've got plenty of supers at this point in time, but in a week or so, with this nice weather, they could well have filled those. So it's we'll come back again. We can do that inspection without affecting the brood nest and disturbing them. We can just lift the boxes, feel the weight, put boxes on where they're needed, and move on, really. We're putting the queen excluder back on, but we don't want to squash any bees. Let's put it on slightly to one side, and then bees that are on the outside will get pushed again on the outside, and that's it. We don't want to inadvertently squash anything. Move that little bit of comb. And then these have been open now, I don't know, 20 minutes or so, and they're still in pretty good order. Nice amount of bees still in the super. Again, put it on slightly at an angle and then move it round. And these are going back in the same orientation that they came off. Crown board on. roof on. And that's it. Well, that was a textbook, that hive. Great number of bees, they all look really healthy. The queen's laying the storm. Even now, in the first week in April, they've started to pack away excess honey, so they're good foraging force. I'm really, really pleased with this. Fingers crossed the others are as good. I'm sure they are. Yeah, that's definitely a good one to start with.